Hi, you've clicked onto today's tropical tidbit for Friday. The biggest story today remains Tropical Storm Bonnie, which is currently coming ashore and making landfall in southeast Florida as we speak. And you can see that the little low-level center here is located southeast of the deepest convection, which has already moved onshore. So most of the worst of the weather is already onshore and affecting Florida. I haven't seen many wind reports along the coast at any given time of over 20 to 25 knots in here, and the central pressure is only 1009 millibars. This is really not a big deal, just sort of a rainy day for South Florida, not a big threat to life and property at all. It is coming in a little farther north than I thought it was going to. I thought this was going to come more through the Keys, just south of the Florida Peninsula, and I had a lot of models agreeing with that. What I think the models may have missed, and what I missed as well, is the structure of this whole situation. This is what you should notice is this is the tropical wave that Bonnie came from down here in the Caribbean, and what happened is Bonnie separated from that wave and is now on its own. And what we kind of missed is that the models and I were still thinking this is going to look like a big wave structure, like a glorified tropical wave with a circulation nestled in the northern portion of the wave axis. But instead, Bonnie has managed to separate enough and take a little bit of a more northerly track. Let's look at the radar here. You can see that it moved over Biscayne Bay. The center's in here coming in just south of Miami. Most of the heaviest rainfall and big rain squalls are already onshore. You can see some nice spiral bands coming into the thing, but it's most of the weather is already onshore. There's not much going on out here really. This should come out near Naples, and this is moving at 18 miles per hour west-northwest as of the 11 a.m. NHC advisory. So this is illustrating the strong steering currents that are guiding Bonnie right now, which means that we will not be seeing any rapid or sudden changes in movement. And these are the model tracks this morning. You can see that it's located a little bit too far south on the initializations because it's making landfall right here, and the Hurricane Center had it located a little farther south because it relocated under the mid-level center this morning. So it made a little bit of a jump, which means this track may be needed to adjust a little bit farther north over here, but I think the models still have a little bit too much of a northern component to the movement around the ridge. So I still think that the track comes over Naples over here and goes right in towards the Mississippi River. If you draw a line of its present movement, you could draw a line from south of Miami, Biscayne Bay to Naples right into the mouth of the Mississippi over here. So this is probably the area that it's going to. Probably somewhere from the Mississippi River in through this notch somewhere around into Mississippi State, possibly even into Alabama and Mobile Bay area. Somewhere in this area, probably coming in pretty close to New Orleans, and it could also pass a little southwest of the river. We'll see how it goes here, but we're starting to nail down this landfall area. It looks like southeast Louisiana and Mississippi State look to be the target points right now. Looking at the upper winds, here's the upper low out in the Gulf, here's Bonnie, here's the ridge, and it's stuck between a big southeast flow between the two features right now, and this is just shearing it. You notice again on the visible loop, here's the center, here's the convection, it's getting sheared from this direction, and this is what I've been talking about, is this low comes west and this big ridge is sitting up here. It's not going to be left alone, it's just going to get sheared. This is not a good outflow environment. If we look at the visible, you can see that, let's see, here's the upper clouds coming this way here, you got the upper clouds coming this way here, upper clouds coming this way, and it's just shearing it. There's no outflow. You want to see upper clouds moving away from a tropical system in all directions, radiating outward in all directions, instead of seeing upper clouds move towards the center of the system, which is not conducive for thunderstorm development and ventilation of the system. So this is not a very well organized tropical system right now. It's a nice little low, but it's not a threat, and I still think this is going to weaken coming across the Gulf. This should not be a big problem for Louisiana or Mississippi or wherever it makes landfall. It's not going to be a big problem. This could even degenerate back into an open wave on its trek across the Gulf, and I think the 11 a.m. intensity forecast from the Hurricane Center is even generous, giving us 45 knots, 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm over the Gulf. I don't think it'll even get that. I don't think it'll even strengthen at all coming across. It might lose some of its structure coming across Florida, but it's moving rather fast, so it might not disrupt it too much. But I expect steady intensity or gradual weakening to ensue as it comes across the Gulf in here. and we'll see how this goes, but this is not a great situation for strengthening, and this is not a major threat in any sense of the imagination for the North Gulf Coast, so I would not worry about this too much. Looking at the rest of the Atlantic, there's not really much going on. There's this wave-ish thing. It's not being called a tropical wave by the Hurricane Center, but it is a weak surface trough coming into the Dominican Republic over here behind Bonnie. This is what was developing alongside Invest 97L, which became Bonnie a few days ago, and this is going to be coming, up into the Gulf in a few days, and we'll watch it. We'll see if it tries to do something sneaky. It's developing a little bit of a cold core upper low right in here, so we'll have to see how it interacts with this. The environment is not the best in the world, but we'll be watching this area disturbed whether it comes in here and see if it tries to cause some mischief. Over here in Africa, these are all problems. We've got a pretty good tropical wave season going for the African continent right now, and they come out here, have been hitting dry air out in the eastern Atlantic lately, but some of these are going to have to be watched as they come across. This one has been hinted at by the models to be a little more amplified as it nears the Caribbean next week. We'll keep an eye on these things. The MJO is favorable for upward motion in this area of the world, so we'll be watching the Eastern Atlantic for our first Cape Verde development. But right now, any threats from these waves are still several days away. Now, here's something interesting for next week to look at. This is day 4, 500 millibar on the 6C GFS run, and there's this big trough that comes through the Canadian Maritimes on day 4 over here. You can see the ridge over the southeast United States. If we go to the surface map, here's the big old low over here. Notice this front that gets draped down over the Carolinas, southeast US, and over Bermuda over here. If we go to day 5, notice this front gets stuck down here. And these situations can be sticky because when these fronts get laid down in here, you notice, tiny little lows trying to spin up in here, and you can sometimes get some mischief, homegrown mischief, along the tail ends of these fronts. Here's the 200 millibar for day 5, and if you get these things stuck under the nose of this upper ridge, just this nose over here, if it noses in just enough, you can lower the wind shear, provide just enough upper ridging to allow a warm core type system to develop, and it'll be interesting to see whether we get some mischief along this frontal boundary over here. This is the European, this is the day 4, here's the 500 millibar trough, here's the surface front. Day 5, here's the front, notice the little low developing east of Bermuda. We go out to day 6, you can see the little low pressure near Bermuda as the front gets strung out over here. Day 7, still low pressure. Day 8, look what it starts winding up near Bermuda, and you got a couple little lows kicking out of here, and you got some low pressure hanging back near Carolina. So there's a messy situation over here, but it's something to watch. And notice as we go forward, a second trough comes in and picks this stuff up. But if we go to the end of the run, day 10, you've got a lot of low pressure left behind. This is sub 1010 millibar pressures over here along the North Gulf Coast, as this area of low pressure is left behind the tail end of the front. So you could even see something back down in here and cause some mischief in the long run. We'll have to see how that works out. And believe it or not, look at this. This is interesting. This is Bonnie's models, and look at this. Look at this coming around the ridge over here, and this is by day 5. Day 6, most of these model runs that are taking this around the ridge and back out over the southwest Atlantic, and interestingly enough, that's day 4, day 5, day 6 when we're seeing this stuff going on. So it'll be interesting to see if Bonnie's remnants come back around and start interacting with this front over here that comes down. Kind of a interesting thing to watch for. I don't see this as too significant of a threat right now, but it is something to watch for homegrown mischief next week and beyond. So we'll keep an eye on this area, and we'll keep an eye out for Cape Verde systems coming across, and we'll just keep an eye out for our next storm. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.